Number 9, 1970-1978 AMC Gremlin. Starting our list at number 9 is the AMC Gremlin, a vehicle created by literally cutting 12 inches off the back of an existing Hornet platform. This unconventional design approach resulted in a car with compromised proportions and handling characteristics that frustrated owners. The shortened rear end created poor weight distribution that made the front-heavy vehicle feel unstable during normal driving. With 6-cylinder engines, the nose-down attitude was particularly noticeable, affecting steering response and braking balance. The truncated design also meant limited cargo space and cramped rear seating that made the vehicle impractical for families. Build quality varied significantly across different production years, with early models experiencing frequent carburetor problems that caused rough running and stalling. Electrical systems were unreliable, particularly in 1970-1972 models, where wiring harnesses deteriorated prematurely. Corrosion appeared quickly on body panels, with door bottoms and rear quarter panels showing rust within 2 years. Number 8 is the 1975 Chrysler Imperial, a flagship luxury vehicle that arrived at precisely the wrong moment in automotive history. This massive sedan stretched over 230 inches in length and weighed nearly 5,000 pounds, representing traditional American luxury just as buyers were abandoning such vehicles. The 440 cubic inch V8 engine was the only power plant offered, and while it produced adequate power for the era, fuel economy was catastrophic. Owners reported consumption in single digits during normal driving, making the Imperial extremely expensive to operate, as fuel prices remained high throughout 1975. The styling looked outdated compared to contemporary luxury cars, with design elements that belonged to the previous decade rather than the mid-1970s. Chrysler's financial difficulties during this period directly impacted build quality. Electrical systems failed regularly, paint application was inconsistent with premature fading and peeling, and mechanical components showed inadequate quality control. Interior materials, despite the premium pricing, felt cheaper than expected for a flagship vehicle. Number 7 is the 1979 Lincoln Continental Mark V, a personal luxury coupe that suffered from Ford's deteriorating quality control throughout the late 1970s. This enormous vehicle measured 230 inches long, making it one of the largest two-door cars ever produced by an American manufacturer. Despite offering designer trim packages from Bill Blass, Givenchy, and Pucci, the Mark V was plagued by defects that undermined its luxury positioning. Ford's cost-cutting initiatives had reduced manufacturing quality to levels that were unacceptable for vehicles priced over $9,000. Ford President Lee Iacocca publicly acknowledged that the company could no longer maintain adequate quality standards at factory level, instead pushing repair responsibilities downstream to dealers. This meant buyers of new Mark V models often experienced multiple dealership visits for warranty work within the first months of ownership. Electrical problems were widespread, affecting power windows, power seats, and power door locks. The hidden headlamp system failed frequently, with motors burning out or covers jamming in partially open positions. Many owners eventually disabled these systems entirely after repeated failures. Paint quality was inconsistent, with some vehicles showing orange peel texture and others developing premature fading. At number 6 is the 1976 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, the largest car Cadillac ever produced. This luxury sedan represented the peak of American automotive excess, but size and presence couldn't compensate for the quality problems that plagued owners. The Fleetwood Brougham's dimensions were staggering, over 230 inches long, with a curb weight exceeding 5,000 pounds. The standard 500 cubic inch V8 provided adequate power, but consumed fuel at alarming rates, with most owners reporting consumption in the low teens at best. During an era of rising fuel costs, operating this massive Cadillac became increasingly expensive. Electrical systems were problematic, with failures affecting everything from power accessories to gauge clusters. The electronic fuel injection system, optional on some models, was particularly troublesome and often required replacement rather than repair. Paint quality was inconsistent across production, with some vehicles developing premature clear coat failure and others showing poor adhesion that led to peeling. The sheer size created practical problems beyond fuel consumption. Parking was difficult in most locations, and the turning radius made urban driving challenging. Number 5. The 1979 Ford LTD, a newly downsized full-size sedan that should have been competitive but fell short in critical areas. Ford finally responded to GM's successful downsizing with this smaller, more efficient design, but the execution had serious flaws. In comparison testing against the Chevrolet Caprice, the LTD consistently performed worse across multiple measurements. Acceleration was slower despite similar engine sizes, and fuel economy was disappointing given the car's reduced dimensions and weight. Most concerning was the braking performance. The LTD required 66 feet more stopping distance than the Caprice in 60-0 testing, representing a dangerous deficiency in a critical safety system. This massive difference in braking capability should have triggered immediate engineering review, but the LTD entered production with these inadequate brakes. Number 4 is the 1975 Chevrolet Caprice, representing the final year before GM's successful downsizing program. This massive full-size sedan was America's best-selling large car for years, but the 1975 model had specific quality control problems that frustrated owners despite its mechanical soundness. The 1975 Caprice suffered from paint defects that became apparent within the first year of ownership. Clear coat peeling affected roof panels and rocker panels particularly, with some vehicles showing bare metal within 2 years. Interior materials degraded quickly, despite the car's relatively new condition. Seat upholstery required rebuilding after minimal use, and vinyl surfaces cracked prematurely. The electrical system had a peculiar problem involving the windshield-mounted antenna. When windshield wipers operated during rain, they crossed over the antenna and created severe static that made radio reception impossible. This design flaw affected all-weather driving and required expensive antenna relocation to resolve. Engine maintenance revealed unusual problems. Spark plugs required replacement every 8,000 miles, approximately half the normal service interval. Number 3 is the 1978 Oldsmobile Delta 88, equipped with GM's new diesel engine option, representing one of the greatest engineering disasters in American automotive history. General Motors rushed this 350 cubic inch diesel V8 to market after only 5 years of development, far less than the typical 10 years required for an entirely new engine family. GM engineers made a catastrophic decision to base the diesel on their existing gasoline V8 architecture, using the same head bolt pattern designed for much lower compression ratios. Diesel engines generate significantly higher cylinder pressures than gasoline engines, and the insufficient head bolts couldn't handle these forces. Under normal operation, the bolts stretched and eventually broke, causing head gasket failures that allowed coolant to leak into cylinders. This contamination caused hydrolock that destroyed engines completely, often requiring full replacement rather than repair. GM also eliminated the water separator from the fuel system to reduce costs, despite water contamination being common in diesel fuel at gas stations during this era. At number 2 is the 1976 Dodge Aspen, named Motor Trend Car of the Year, but quickly becoming notorious as one of the most recalled vehicles in automotive history. Chrysler rushed the Aspen into production 6 months ahead of schedule to generate desperately needed cash flow, and first-year buyers became unwitting testers for an incomplete product. The most expensive defect was premature fender rust that affected every single 1976 and 1977 Aspen produced. Chrysler had eliminated galvanization and inner fender liners to reduce costs, and the exposed metal corroded rapidly. Some vehicles showed rust through within months in northern climates. This forced Chrysler to recall over 1 million vehicles for front fender inspection and possible replacement, costing the company $109 million during a period when it could barely afford such expenses. Beyond the rust problem, the Aspen suffered from at least 8 serious safety recalls in the first model year alone. Hoods didn't latch properly and could fly open during driving. Engines stalled without warning at intersections and during highway merging. Seatbelt tensioners failed to secure occupants properly. And at number 1, the Chevrolet Monza earns the top position by combining a fundamentally flawed platform with design decisions that made routine maintenance nearly impossible. GM built the Monza on the Vega platform, using a known failure as the foundation for a supposedly sporty subcompact. The engineering decisions were baffling and demonstrated complete disregard for owner experience. On models equipped with V8 engines, the rear spark plugs were completely inaccessible without lifting or removing the entire engine from the vehicle. This meant that routine maintenance, changing spark plugs every 30,000 miles, required professional shop equipment and hours of labor that cost more than the parts themselves. Many owners simply drove Monzas with failing spark plugs rather than paying for this absurd maintenance procedure. Monza inherited all the Vega's catastrophic mechanical problems. The aluminum engine block with silicone-treated cylinders overheated regularly, warped head cylinders, and consumed oil at rates requiring constant topping off. Many Monzas required complete engine rebuilds before 50,000 miles. Body corrosion appeared within 3 years around wheel arches, door bottoms, and the rear hatch area.